Good. So you're on vacation right now in Colombia. How's vacation going?
It's going good. I just got here a couple of days ago because I was doing a sci-fi convention back in California just before then, and then the day before that, I was doing the celebrity reading of A Christmas Carol, which was amazing. And so I've been running nonstop, and I just arrived, man, and here it is. We're here.
Nice. Well, we're glad to get you on the platform today, Rico. Rico Ross, you are an actor, writer, a producer, and a jack of all trades. So, for those who aren't familiar with you, tell us about your background and growing up in Chicago from humble beginnings.
Right. Humble beginnings is an understatement. I grew up very large family, five brothers, five sisters. That's 11 of us. I was like number eight. Um, Very poor area in Chicago, West Side. Moved out of Chicago just before I was a teenager, moved to the countryside where I had an amazing experience again. And then eventually my parents split up and I moved away to Florida and went to high school and college there, and then went to grad school in UCLA, and that was the big ticket going to UCLA because I started working in Hollywood right out of college. And the first big thing I did was Hill Street Blues, and I played a gang member, and I was very happy to get that role. But I tell you, man, after that role, I couldn't get anything but gang members. And so the next four jobs I did were like get the same character with a different name. So I went back to UCLA and talked to my professor and said I was really frustrated. I said I was happy to be working, but I was frustrated because I thought, I've got a master's degree. I can play more than a gang member. And he suggested that I go to London and study Shakespeare. He said it will be good for you as a young man. It'll mature you, and it'll be good for you as an actor. And so I went there. I studied, and it was a one-year program. They asked all the Americans to acquire British accents as soon as we arrived, because they wanted us to be focusing more on the character as opposed to being so preoccupied with the accent. So by the time the program was over, a year later, my British accent was as good as any Englishman. And just between you and me, for the next 4 years, I worked as an Englishman in London. I created, you couldn't get away with it now, but I created what's equivalent to a social security number. And I went on interviews as an Englishman, and I got cast in television, theater, movies as an Englishman. And I did that for the next 4 years until I was able to get legal documents. And then for the next 9 years after that, I was an American actor working in Europe.
Nice. That's quite the journey, and you have a vast background of culture and experience. I want to talk about more so your transition from college into going straight into Hollywood and booking jobs. What was that transition like for you?
To be honest with you, man, it was really scary. It was scary because I guess when you finish college, and most of my colleagues, my friends that were in other professions, when they finished college, they had that degree and they kind of had almost more of a guarantee of a job in the future. I felt like when I graduated, that degree didn't really add much to me getting a job. They want to know what you can do, what you look like, how you sound, can you act, can you be real, and so it was frightening. I remember the first day when I graduated, I had my master's degree. I got home that night and I cried myself to sleep, man, because it was just, I'm out here on my own now in Hollywood. And when you're in the university system, there's a certain, there's a safety net there. If you need anything, the university's there. Once I had left there, it's sink or swim. And statistically, in my profession, less than 2% of actors can support themselves on acting alone. So it was a scary beginning, but I knew I was prepared. UCLA, it's a great university, and I bleed blue and gold right now because of them. They they not only they only accept 12 people in the world, and they have thousands of people for their graduate program, the MFA program, and I was one of the lucky 12. But they not only offered me a place there, they offered me a fellowship. And I didn't even know what a fellowship was because, like I said, I come from humble beginnings. A fellowship is when they basically, you don't have to work. You just come to school and go to class. They pay for your food, they pay for your dorm, they pay for your books, they pay for everything. Only thing you have to do is come to class and maintain a B average. And so that was a lifeline for a guy like me because if they hadn't, I probably wouldn't have been able to go to the course anyway. So I really have a lot of respect and I feel like I am indebted to UCLA because of that, because they were my ticket out of the hood, I felt like. But it was a very scary beginning, which I think it is for most actors. But you know what we do is we get jobs like I don't know, waiting on tables or something like that, something to bring in enough money while we can still go on auditions. A job that doesn't require too much so that you can walk away from it for weeks at a time if you have to, and then come back. So that was kind of like the beginning.
Nice. Well, shout out to UCLA getting you prepared for the
Shout out to UCLA, man.
for that transition. Also, to yourself and showing that resilience. Definitely with the
Thank you.
consistency in this entertainment game. So you have a colorful career ranging from Mission Impossible to Aliens, most recently Beauty and Black. What specifically drew you to the role of Horace?
Wow. Quick little story about about Horace. I was sending in tapes and going on meetings, and I was working. And when this offer came in for me to send in a tape, I was really at a point where I felt like I was tired and I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to send in the tape, but there was something in the back of my head that kept going and going on, and it was this phrase that 90% of success is showing up. And so I thought, let me just do this. Let me just do this video and send this audition in, and if I get one clean without making a mistake, I'll send it in. So I'm doing this this tape, this audition for Beauty and Black, and I'm reading the character, and I'm falling in love with the character. I'm just like, wow, I love this guy. He's got so many levels. There's so many, and so I'm doing the audition, but I'm tired, and it's late at night. And so I'm reading with my wife, and she's behind the camera. I'm in front, and I'm reading the lines. And I get halfway through the lines and the scene, and the character coughs. And so I cough. But as I cough, she said her name. And then I say in character, I didn't hear you. And then she says the line, and then we finish the scene. Well, that is the audition tape that I sent in, mistakes and all, because I felt it had the essence of the character. And even though I've made a mistake in the middle of it, I didn't lose character. And I thought that is the essence. And I can do it over and over again and get it without the mistake. But I thought that's the essence. And that's the one I sent in. And that ended up being the one that got me the job. Then I met Tyler and we talked about the role extensively. And I realized the journey of this character. And that's really when I fell in love with the character. Yeah.
No, he has quite the journey for sure, and the layers that you mentioned. I think that was the beauty of the character, and all of the characters in particular, but Horace in particular definitely peels back the layers, and you see his journey from beginning to end. Now, were you reluctant at all in playing the character, given his presumably being DL or bisexual?
Um, Good question. And this is the thing. I have played so many different characters, and most of them I'm not those characters. An Alien, I was a Marine, and I'm not a Marine. Um, so I've played cops, I've played doctors, I've played gangbangers, I've played all these roles. And one of my fellow actors had once said to me that he was interviewing me for something, and he said something about when you want to achieve greatness, you have to find a way to feel comfortable with the uncomfortable. And this character had all these different things that I loved in the character, but it didn't have something that made me feel uncomfortable until it was that. And the reason why I say the possible the curiousness of being bisexual, that added the danger level that I wanted. That added the challenge that I wanted. That added something that another layer to this character because when you first meet this character, you think he's a working class guy with a limited income, and you find out later on that he's a multi-millionaire. When you first meet him, you think that he's could be quite passive, and later on you find out this is the guy that you really don't want to fuck with. When you
Yeah.
first meet him, you feel that he's homophobic and he has a disdain for homosexuality. And later on, you find out that maybe he's gay. And so all these layers is what made this character so great to me. And Tyler told me, he said, Rico, I want to I want to bring him in slowly because I want to give us some room to grow with him. He says, I want him to be mysterious. I don't want to give anything away because a lot of the other characters in the show, when you see them, it's almost like what you see is what you get. And if it's blue, it's going to be blue. If it's
Right.
red, it's going to be red. When you see him, you don't know what he's going to be. So he's almost like a blank canvas. And then slowly, little spots of color just start splashing on the canvas. And before you know it, you're getting this picture of this thing. And you're not quite sure what it is yet, because the, the, the painting isn't complete. And so we're still working on completing that painting. But I have read and I have seen the finished product. So I love what we have. I love where we're going. There was a challenge to me because I think for those who've seen the show, and I'm going to try not to give any spoilers, but a lot of the characters are heated characters. A lot of the characters, they wear their passion on their sleeves, and and so there can be at times a lot of shouting or people getting emotional. I based my character off of my father. And the one thing, my father was a big man, and he was a big man in Chicago, and not in sort of like an executive for a company, but in the hood, he was a big man, physically and metaphorically speaking. And my father never shouted. He never raised his voice. And as a matter of fact, when things got loud, he would often lower his voice, and people would stop talking so they can hear what he had to say. And so I based the character on my father because I needed to find this alpha male that he didn't shout. He didn't blow his horn about what he possesses, the power he possesses. But you discover it as if you're with him long enough. And so I based it, and it was a difficult thing to do because often with actors, you get in a room, you get in a scene, and everybody's shouting or emotional, and the volume gets loud, and then before you know it, you're getting loud too, and it's almost like it's a competition or something. And I had to keep reminding myself, that's not you.
Right.
That's not.
I love that because I see the thread and the similarities of how you mentioned using that method acting and tapping into your father, and then also the direction with Tyler Perry in terms of letting him Horace, the character, slow cook. That's definitely evident. And I think also another layer to that is he also has prostate cancer and is dying. So we never know what we're going to do in that situation or what we would be curious to do. You know what I mean? So well said.
Yeah, I like the way you put that. I'll use that in future interviews, but it is a slow cook for Horace. It's a slow cook, and you don't want it to boil. You
Right.
know,
Nice
you don't
simmer.
want him to boil. Yeah, it's simmering right now.
Right.
Um, and the fact that Horace has prostate cancer adds yet another level to the character that we're talking about. And if a person and if you know somebody out there, people listen to this, they know somebody out there who has dealt with uh, uh, a chronic disease or have had something happen to them where they almost died. From that moment on, you see life differently. You have a depth, you have a wisdom that someone who hasn't experienced that, they don't have that. And
Absolutely.
they can intellectualize it, but they haven't felt that. And when you have that experience, then you don't sweat the small shit like other people are more inclined to do. You can see the bigger picture because you've been there or you're in there. And I think because he is has prostate cancer and his life is on the line. I think he doesn't have he knows he doesn't have time for some of these things that aren't important in the big picture. I also think that he is one of those people, one of the characters in the show, one of the few characters in the show that maybe he is not just looking to get all he can get. Because we see often in life, in the lower levels of income, people are struggling for the crumbs. But even people at the top, it's like a drug. Money is like a drug, and no matter how much you have, it's not enough. I remember watching this one TV show, and they asked this guy who was playing the richest man in the world, um, "How much money do you need?" And the answer was more. And so I feel like because Horace is going through all these things, he is no longer chasing the carrot. He's looking at life very differently, and he's looking at how he's going to leave his life. And with two sons, and the way my sons are, he's in a bind, because he wants to leave what he's built up for generations. Often in the Black community, we talk about generational wealth, which we often don't have. When we pass away, we don't leave anything to the kids so they can have a nice jump start on life. So creating generational wealth is a very important thing, and it's a very rare thing in our community. He has created this generational wealth, but it is said that you can create generational wealth in 3 generations, but it can be lost in one. And his fear, I think, is that it could be lost with his sons. And so it's a very difficult time for him, and he doesn't have a lot of time to deal with this.
Mhm.
And the sons are who they are. They're grown men, and they're who they are. So it's a bind.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback off you with what you said, my father was actually diagnosed with prostate cancer 2 years ago, and you can see the taking life more seriously, being the mortality of it, and being intentional. So that's definitely you're dead on with that. And I mean, as of late, he is healthy, which I'm grateful for. And
Oh, good.
you're a second term board member with SAG and AFTRA. Share your experience with that role, and what does that role entail?
All right, I'm gonna give you a scoop on something, and I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back, but I'm saying this because this is what happened, and it is it's a lesson to actors out there that if you have the right intention and the right energy, you can move mountains. So I joined the board after the second. I don't know if you remember, there was a hashtag Oscar so white. And it happened 2 years in a row where there wasn't a single person of color nominated for anything. And it happened the first year. It was very embarrassing for Hollywood, very embarrassing. And then the next year it happened again. Not a single person of color was nominated for anything. And I thought, I'm going to join the Screen Actors after SAG-AFTRA board with the primary purpose of trying to change that, trying to change casting. So I went and joined. I went and ran for it, and luckily I was elected into office. I got the position. The term lasts, I think, for 3 years. I did 2 terms. It took that long to get it done. But I with this energy, this newfound energy, I went straight to the EEO committee and told them that I had this idea. I wanted to change casting because I felt like casting had been based on a 1950s white family, white stories concept, and it hadn't really changed very much. And if you do see a person of color in there, they're in there for a reason. They're in there because they're in the hood or something like that, or so they needed a prostitute or a pimp or something like that, or they're in a small role where they needed somebody to die and get shot. And I just felt like, through my experience being in this business so long and having gone through experiences where one example I gave was I had an audition for a job, and Matthew McConaughey was the man in this job, and it was for a 3-part commercial, and he was the man in this Lincoln commercial. But yet They sent me a monologue. They wanted me to do a monologue, but he had just won an Oscar. I'm thinking maybe he's not the guy anymore. Maybe they're looking for a new guy. I says, whatever, I don't care. They sent me this monologue. They're going to get me in this monologue. And so I go in here and I do this monologue, Bond, and I kill it. And I knew I killed it because as soon as I finished this monologue, the room was quiet. And a lot of times in Hollywood, they're very PC. You'll finish your monologue, they go, "Oh, very good, thank you," and then you go. They were quiet, so I
Your
knew I had
response is the best response.
exactly. So I walked out. I get in my car, and before I can get home, I get a call from my agent. They offered me the part, and the thing was that I remembered uh, during the second commercial, one of the people from Lincoln came up to me and he says, he was a writer. He says when we wrote this, we had in mind an Englishman playing this role, or maybe a Russian. But when you came and did your audition, the director said, "That's the guy. Make it fit." And
Nice.
so they cast off of talent as opposed off of type. They
Hmm.
cast off of what you brought into it as opposed off of the complexion you came in with. And so I tell the story to the board and I tell them, I think that we should have in Hollywood that you cast off of type. I mean, off of talent. So whoever comes in there, if they shine, whoever they are, if they're obese, if they're gay, if they're a woman, if they come in there and they shine, make it fit. And so the president of the board, the committee voted me to be vice chair because I came in here with all this energy, and I became vice chair. And Jody Long, who is now the president of SAG in Hollywood, she was the chair. She was the chair, and then we had this other woman who was on the national board. And the three of us, we crafted up this language. We used the language that they had, and we changed it. And we said that we think that every audition, every casting director should have this. And when you go to on a casting, and right now at this time, you'll see that it says that we cast no matter what color, what sexuality, all this. There's a statement there that we're casting, we're inviting all of you to come and play, and whoever shines, that's how we're going to go. And unless it's something where it's a family member or something like that, that's the intention. And within 2 years, Bond, it was as if there had been a memo that went around Hollywood. Because one of the things I also made very clear to them that you're leaving money on the table. When you just cast an all white show, um, people will tune in, but they'll tune out. But when you cast a show that's similar to the ethnic breakdown of America, people will tune in and they will stay in. And there are also so many different stories that we're all telling stories from one aspect. People have heard it so much. So these other stories are very interesting to people. And so we got in there, we changed the language, and within 2 years, it was like a memo had gone out in Hollywood that either they're going to change casting or they're going to change those people. But they felt that there was money they were leaving on the table, and I gave them example after example of the money that they had been leaving on the table, and examples of case in point, the Furious Five, the series about the movies about the fast car drivers. I gave them that as an example because that was something that had a cast like the United Nations. It had black, it had white, it had brown, it had gay, it had straight. And when the first movie came out, the box office number came back and it blew the producers away. And the second one came out, it blew them away again. The third one came out still on Furious Five. They were still surprised. But one of the producers was a black guy. He says, I wasn't surprised. He says, because I knew everybody that went to see that movie, they were invested in that movie. They saw themselves in that movie. And so that's why it worked. And so I gave them examples after that and we got it done. And now when you look at television, you look at commercials, you see a great deal of difference than you saw 5, 10 years ago because they understand that these stories are very important. And Tyler is one of the people who's responsible for that. His shows have shown that if this is people, these are stories that people want to hear, and they make money. And Hollywood really is about the money. It's about the money. And Tyler is a
Exactly.
perfect example.
And that's a good point too about them, leaving money on the table. And thank you for your service and the efforts to create equality for marginalized actors and entertainers as well. Very much appreciated. Um, moving forward, you share the screen with other icons and legends like yourself who've been in the game, like Debbie Morgan and
Richard Lawson,
yes, Richard Lawson, who plays your brother.
is my brother.
Yeah, what was that? What was that experience like? Especially, I think it was like episode 3 or 4, where you guys have this explosive spat. What was it like working with them?
Well, it's an interesting thing because those of us of our generation who have worked a long time, so many times when we walk on set, we would be the O and O, which is the one and only. Yeah, right. And so even though I would see Richard and other actors in auditions, it was usually for one job, and it was one of us are going to get it, and the others are going to go home. And so to have seen Richard for so long, Malik for so long in Hollywood, we've been in Hollywood for so long, Debbie, and never have worked together, and then to be pulled together in this project, I
Hmm.
just knew that we were gonna rock it. I knew we had a solid foundation when we had these four people together.
Hmm.
I says, whoever you bring on after that, we're gonna roll. We're gonna roll with it. We could rock now because I knew we had a solid foundation. And what happens when you bring veterans onto a set is you raise the production value because a lot of young actors will see the veteran actors go places that without any hesitations that you have to go to for this character. Put in the work, try things, not to be fearless, with the character, and that can become contagious. You'll find that these young actors will step up their game because they know that they're it's going to show if you don't. And so I think Tyler's really clever, and I don't think he gets enough credit for his casting. He casts well. When he's directing, he moves so fast that he directs when he has to direct. But if you're rocking it, he will let you rock. And Tyler is one of these people where he he gives you enough room to hang yourself, you know. And and some of us take that and we go too far. And if you go too far, he'll pull it back when he needs to pull it back. But as long as you're doing your job and it's working, he's happy with it. If you mess up a line, let's just go back and let's get it. Because he's a one take director. He likes to do one take and get and keep it moving. And the first day on set, I remember they sent in like a stack of about an inch of pages, and I thought it was the first episode, and it was like, no, this is just what we're shooting today. And it was 81 pages we're shooting in one day. Normally, you shoot maybe 6 or 7 pages a day. We were shooting 81 pages the first day, and I remember thinking, what have I gotten myself into? 81 pages in one day. But I talked myself off that ledge by understanding that out of all the people in the cast, I am one of the few that has the most experience. But everybody has to do it at this pace. And if they can do it, then I can do it. And as a matter of fact, I should be able to do it better. And so I just tackled one scene at a time. There's no way you can, the way he shoots, he doesn't shoot in a linear fashion. He doesn't shoot from beginning to the end in a story. If we are at a restaurant, he'll shoot every scene we have at that restaurant there. If we are at your house, all the scenes that we have at your house, we'll shoot at your house. These scenes may be weeks apart, months apart, but we're shooting it all one after another. And so as an actor, you then have to know what scene came before this scene so I can get myself in the right state of mind and what scene goes after this scene so I can pitch myself correctly. And so I just focused on one scene at a time and even while we're changing clothes for the next scene, they have readers on set that follow us and they run our lines while we're changing clothes for the next scene so that by the time we get on set, we're ready to go. And so Tyler will come on set. I'll be on set ready to do the scene. He'll come on set and he knows what the scene is about. He just wants to know my perspective. He go, okay, Ricco, what is this scene about? And I'm telling him the scene halfway through the time of the explanation. He goes, okay, roll him. Now I'm still talking and I'm finishing my, my explanation of the scene. And as I finish, he steps out away from the camera and goes, action. And at that moment, it's on. That's the way he shoots, man.
Right. That's good methods there, and like and best practices for sure to keep you in the moment and engaged.
Oh yeah, everybody's present.
Rico, what keeps you motivated and inspired to continue to act?
Um, money, money
Right.
is an inspiration. But what keeps me work, because there are other ways I could make money, but what keeps me in acting is the challenge.
Hmm.
Um, I love it, and I also feel like it's one of those arts where, there's always room to grow. And as a veteran actor, I have so much to pull from now that I feel like the best work could be in the future. And with this role, when it came up, this is what feeds the hunger for the art. It's playing roles like this, and you guys don't know where it's going, but you know, I think you got a picture, you got a taste of them from here and there, but I think this role is one of the things that keeps me drawn to this business because you get a chance to play characters that you would only dream about, and fortunately, they keep writing them. Fortunately, Hollywood now understands that there's money in them, and we keep rolling with them.
Absolutely. I'm definitely drawn in. I can't wait for the next season.
Dude, it is a global phenomenon because the first day I came here in Colombia, I'm in Medellin, Colombia right now. And the first day I walked out, man, I shaved my beard because I know that people will recognize me and stuff like that. And so I shaved my beard. And the first day I walked out, I got three police women come up to me and say, Horace, Horace. And they don't speak English,
Wow.
but they know Horace. And
Wow. Well,
so we're
congratulations.
talking,
It's
and
number
they
one.
asked me to take photographs with me, and I'm like I cannot even believe I'm in Medellin, Colombia, and somebody's coming up to me. So, but then it was number one here in Colombia for a week, so I understand it.
Yeah, that is reach and congratulations. Is there anything you can tell us about the next season that's coming up?
I can tell you that we already have the second half of the first season. The next 8 episodes are already in the can. We've done some ADR on them, but basically they're ready to go. The holdup, I think, has been strategic on Netflix, and they found that if you have release a television series, um, and you release half of them, that people will watch those half and they will talk about it, and then other people will go and watch that first half and they'll talk about it, and then they'll be in anticipation for the second half, and that brings up more interest in the project. And then people who see the second half may, before they see the second half, want to go back and see the first half. So,
Right.
you have all of this generation, you're generating all of this interest in the project. So I think that's one of the reasons why. The other reason I think is Jimmy Jam is one of the producers on this. He does the soundtrack, the music, all the music for it. So before he can do anything, I think they have to cut it all together and give him a finished product, and then he can then make music for the whole thing. And so I think that's going to take some time because you're dealing with an artist, and Jimmy Jam is often a very busy producer, so you're working with his schedule too. So I think that's part of it. But the word is that it's not going to they're not going to drop the second 8 episodes until spring of next year, which would probably be like in March next year.
Okay. All right. So they're giving us the breadcrumbs. We're holding on. We're definitely tuning in for sure. The
Dude,
way
I've gotten so
it
much
is.
so much fan mail, man, about people like they're pissed off that you just
Yes,
left
it leaves you on a
hanging like
cliffhanger.
that,
I
man.
was mad. I was mad, but it's gonna definitely put me back in. But we're in Thanksgiving weekend. Just to wrap up, what are you thankful for?
Uh, what am I thankful for? I'm not a very religious person, but I do pray, and my prayer is more about gratitude than anything else. As we spoke earlier, I come from very humble beginnings. I thought that I was poor when I was growing up. When I first moved away and went to high school, and I went to high school in the South. My parents moved to the South, and I didn't want to move to the South from Illinois because I just had heard bad things about the South. And then I realized I was going to be going to a high school called South Plantation. Now imagine that for a young 13-year-old boy moving
Hi,
to the South,
tell us.
and that's the name of your high school, South Plantation High.
Mm,
So it was, from my beginnings, it was pretty interesting because when I got to that high school, and they bused me to this high school. It was in a white neighborhood, and they were affluent. They were wealthy, much more wealthy people there, students there. And I remember thinking that I saw that I was poor and that they were rich, and that was the first time I really understood that I was poor. But as a mature adult now, I realize that health is wealth, family is wealth, friends is wealth. Money is not the only wealth. And I realized that I was a lucky one. I grew up very wealthy. And so that's what I'm grateful for is I grew up with that. I have a large family and I love having a large family. I love having all my brothers and sisters. I never felt like I had to worry about anybody ever picking on me because there was a whole football team behind me and all of them are over 6 feet tall. So I never had any of these worries. And I realized as I grow older that I was very fortunate. I had a very fortunate background, and I'm very grateful for that. I was able to pass this sort of security in myself onto my kids, and so they have grown up, and both my son and my daughter, they had offers from I think 4 and 5 different universities, but they did choose to go to UCLA as well, and I think they did that for me because they knew that my heart was there. So
Absolutely.
I've got a lot to be grateful for, man, and I don't take it for granted. And I also am in a position now where financially I can help other people, and that's a beautiful position to be in, to be able to help other people, and to pull other people up, because that's the way I grew up in my neighborhood. If you get up, you have an obligation to pull somebody up behind you. Don't just take it to yourself and think about yourself. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Absolutely. Well said. And last question, what's next for Rico Ross?
I have 2 movies that I did that I've already shot, and one of them's called A Man's Promise, and it's already dropped last month on Passion TV, Passion Flick TV, Passion Flick TV, passionflick.com is the website, and so they dropped that one. The next one they're going to drop is A Lover's Vow, and I play the father of a very wealthy family again. But I have 3 sons this time, and these 3 sons are ballers. They are ballers, man. They can handle their business. But our business is done so well that someone's put me in prison on some fake stuff, and they're working to get me out. So those 2 movies are dropping, and I have another movie that we just wrapped before I came here, and it's a Christmas movie, and I love this movie because playing a role. I played the role of a stepfather that comes into a family, and he has to win them over. And he's the nicest guy. He's the antithesis of Horace. So it's nice to come out with a character that's so very different from Horace. And we've got a great cast. It's called An Unexpected Christmas. It'll be out dropping on next Thanksgiving. And we've got Lil Rel in there, the comedian. We've got Tabitha Brown, the influencer slash
Nice. We
actor,
love Tabitha.
and she's killing it in it. She's killing it in it. We've got Anne Marie Horford in there, a lot of you may know her from Amen. We've got Howie Bell. We've got a great cast of actors, and I can't wait till that movie comes out because it's a beautiful movie. It's a beautifully written movie. They produced it well. They cast it well, and it's nice to have that following Horace because Horace is going to get deeper and deeper into this series, and it's nice to have a character that's quite the contrary.
Absolutely. But Rico, it was a pleasure speaking with you and congratulations with all the success and continue doing the work in the industry. And we will talk to you soon. Okay.
All right, my brother. Thank you so much, man. It's great seeing you. I love the background, and we look like twins here, man. All right, Vaughn.
Absolutely.
Take care of yourself, brother.
All right. Bye bye.